Hi, today I'm going to show you how to do the beaded crocheted rope technique. To show you this technique, we're going to be working on a 6 spiral crocheted rope bracelet. So we've picked out 6 colors of size 8 seed beads to work with. And we're also going to be working with our number 8 pearl cotton thread. And you want this to be kind of a matching color that goes along with the beads. And the crochet hook that we're going to be using is the number 0 1.75 millimeter Tulip crochet hook. To string up our beads, we're going to be using a twisted wire needle, and this has a nice large eye so it works well with the thread. And to sew up our bangle, we are going to be using the Tulip tapestry needles. So let's get started. To start, this is a little bit different than some of the other off-loom bead stitches. I'm not going to have you cut your thread off of your spool. We're going to be just working with it straight off of the spool. So it's a little bit different than how we would usually start and tell you to cut off 4 feet or 6 feet of thread to be working with. You're never going to cut your thread until you're done making your project. So don't cut your thread. So we're going to start by stringing up all of the beads that we need to make our project. So I'm going to thread my twisted wire needle onto my pearl cotton thread here. And we need about 100 beads of each color, so 600 beads total to start working on our bracelet. And so I'm going to I started by counting out 100 of my first pile, and then we're going to be working from left to right, just stringing up 1 of each color. And when I'm done with this first pile, I will have strung 600 beads. So we're just going to pick up 1 of each color across our row and string them onto your thread. You're just going to keep on stringing until you have all 600 beads on your thread. So this part takes a little bit of time to get your project prepped and ready for you to start your weaving or your crocheting. So go ahead and continue stringing up all of your beads, and we'll regroup in a minute. Okay, so we've strung up all our beads, so now we're going to start working on our crocheted rope. So to start, we're going to be leaving about an 8 to 12 inch tail on our thread, and we want to create a slip stitch knot. So to do that, we're going to just wrap the thread around 2 of our fingers and pull up a little loop through that and tighten it up, and that will go around your crochet hook. So we've got our tail and we've got our side with our beads. We're going to be working a 6 crochet rope, bead rope, and so we're going to start by doing chain stitch to create our base of our crochet rope. And so I've got my silver bead as my first, so I'm going to move that up close to my slip knot and my crochet hook. And then we're going to bring the yarn around the hook from the back to the front, and that's called a yarn over. And then we're going to catch that yarn with our hook and then pull through the loop that was on the hook. And that's your chain stitch. Okay, and we're going to keep on doing that with the next 6 beads to create the foundation of our beaded crochet rope. So I'm pulling up the next bead, yarning over, and pulling through, adding to my chain stitch there. We're going to do the same thing for the next 6 beads. So we've got our next guy, pull it up, yarn over, and pull through your hook. Your chain stitch, or your chain kind of link here, might have a little bit of a curl to it, but don't worry about that. Here's my last one, yarning over and pulling through. So I've got 6 beads here that I've chain stitched. Now we want to create a ring with these, so we're going to connect them, and then we'll start working on our tube shape for our bead crochet rope. So I'm going to push right underneath that first bead, getting my crochet hook there, and we're going to push our bead over to the side. And you can see I've got a space here in between my first. I'm going to pull up some more beads so I can work through here. Okay, so you can see I've got my space here between my first and, well, this is my first bead that I put on. Here's the last bead that I put on, and my working tail is coming up here. So I'm going to push my next bead in between those two and yarn over right in between them. So you can see it's sitting right there. And I'm going to catch the yarn that I just yarned over. And I'm going to pull through the two loops that are on the hook. And that's connecting my rope together. Now I'm going to push under the next bead, so it's brown, and you can see I'm pushing up a brown bead from my working thread, and again I'm putting it in between the space there, in between the last bead I added and the new bead I just went under, and I'm yarning over, and I'm going to pull through the 2 loops that are on again. And I'm doing the same thing, just pushing underneath that next bead and pushing it towards the back of the hook and pulling my next bead up into that space. You can see it sitting in there. I'm going to yarn over again, and then I'm going to pull through. And we're going to work this way around for our 6 beads. So I'm going underneath the bead, pushing it back, pulling my next bead up into that space, and yarning over. I'm going to push under the next bead, push it back towards the back of the crochet hook, pulling our next bead in, and pulling yarn over, and then pulling through the 2 loops there. Okay, that was my last bead. So you can see by doing the 6 colors, your colors are stacking on top of each other. So you kind of know if you have a silver bead here, you're going to go through a silver bead next here. So that kind of will help guide you around the chain, because at this point it still looks kind of like a little rat's nest or bird's nest. It's a little bit misshapen and hasn't come into its tube shape yet. At about 4 or 5 rows, it will start to look more like a tube shape, and you'll be able to see the shape of it forming a little bit more. But we're just going to continue moving underneath the next color, pulling up the matching color and yarning over and then pulling through the 2 loops. So we're going to continue working that way around the rope. There's no step up in between your rows. You're just going to keep on working around in a circular motion. So you're going to go under, push over, pull up your next bead, place it in there, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops. And just keep working around. Again, that's about 3 rows there, and it's still not everything is looking quite right yet, but don't worry, it will. So we're at about 4 rows at this point, and you can start to see that your tube has started to make a little bit more sense, and you can see your spiral starting to form there, and your beads are sitting. The ones that have been finished are sitting horizontally, and the ones up on the top are sitting vertically. Okay, so we're going to keep on going, and feel free to adjust your thread and how you're holding it. I like to wrap the thread around my hand and then have a couple beads sitting underneath that I can push forward with my fingers into place. So whatever is comfortable to you. I'm going to start working more in real time here so you can see can work there. Push under the bead, click it over, and keep going. So we're going to work this way until you've reached your desired length of your bracelet. So these are going to be a bangle bracelet, and it does have a little bit of give to it. So you can make it maybe a little bit shorter than you normally would because it will stretch a little bit as it's going over your wrist. I'm going to be working to about 7 inches, and then we will show you how to sew it up into a bangle shape. Okay, I'm going to keep on working till I've finished my entire bracelet, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've completed our crochet bracelet, and we're ready to connect the ends together. So on our finishing end, you want to just make sure that you're starting and stopping on a complete row. So I started my end over here with a silver bead, and so to complete that row, I need to end on this dark blue gray color. So that is what I've done. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim my tail so that I have about a 10 to 12 inch tail there. And on this end, we're going to go ahead and pull that tail through this last loop here, and that kind of finishes off this side. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take my tapestry needle, and we're going to thread the starting side with your tapestry needle. And with this side, we're going to go ahead and string right up through the center of this tube on the other side. So we'll kind of connect these this way, and we're stringing about a quarter of an inch down through that tube. And that's all we're going to do on that end. Just let your tail kind of hang out here, and that kind of brings the two ends together like so. And you can pull it apart and together. And then we're going to go ahead and thread our tapestry needle on our other end now. Okay. So let's start sewing this together. So you want to make sure that your ends are coming together so that your twist, your spiral will keep continuing. So we're going to match color to color. And we're stringing from, we ended over here on the left side, and we're going to sew over to the right side. And so we'll sew zigzagging back and forth from one side to the other. So on the first one, we're going to go through this silver bead, and you're just going to bring your tapestry needle underneath that thread, connecting it to the center of the tube, like so. Go ahead and pull that tight. And now we'll go over to the other side to the silver bead, and we're just going to catch under the thread that we would have been going through with our crochet hook there. And we'll pull that side together. So that's pulling the two silvers together. And we're just going to continue that same zigzag across all the way around until we finish. So I'm going to go down underneath the thread on the brown bead, and then come across and catch the thread there. And on the second side, as you're catching the beads on the side you finished, that is turning the beads so that it'll be facing the same direction. And you can kind of tug this nice and tight, but you don't want to go too tight. You want them to sit nice together. Okay, and then we're going to go over to the green, the light green, hook under there, and then go over to the other side and the green there. And I just kind of roll the rope so that my colors that I'm working on the are on the top. You can kind of just spin it around as you're working. So now we're going to go over to the dark green side. And the dark green on the other side. And just continue around until you have reached the end. So now we're at the dark blue and the dark blue. Okay, so we've sewn all the way around and you've just created the invisible join on your bracelet. So to just secure this a little bit more, we're going to take our thread and sew back down the center of this tube. So just kind of bury your needle in so that you can get into the tube part. And you can feel it when you're in that tube. And just kind of sew down until you can come out a little ways down. And I just do this a couple times and that will just finish off your thread there. And when you feel like you've gone far enough, just do a couple. You can go ahead and trim your thread with your scissors. And I'm just going to reinforce this side one more time. Put my tapestry needle back on the thread from this side. And then just sew down the center of the tube. A little bit further on this side. And trim your ends. You can find all the products you need to make your own beaded crochet bracelet at fusionbeads.com.